Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar, The Connected Community Advantage, How Technology is Reshaping Senior Living, Sales, Marketing, and Resident Experiences. My name is Meredith Wentworth. I'm the Director of Marketing here at GoIcon. I will be moderating today's panel discussion with our fantastic panelists. Before we jump in to the presentation and the meat and potatoes of this really powerful and dynamic conversation, just wanted to walk through a couple of housekeeping items. First and foremost, all of the attendee microphones have been muted. This is solely to cut down on background noise. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please submit them through the Q&A functionality. If it is a question for the panelists, we will be holding those until the end of the session, at which point we will have a live Q&A session to get those answered. If you're having technical problems, again, use that chat and I will do my best to support you throughout the conversation. We are recording today's webinar, so after this event, we will be sending you all a copy of the recording via email in the next couple of days, so you can hang on to that. And we will have a poll at the end allowing you to request direct follow-up with any one of us on the panel. So without further ado, welcome, and we can jump right in. So thank you again for joining us today. We're very excited about this session. We have an incredible group of panelists here with deep expertise across sales, marketing, resident engagement, and technology. And today's discussion is all about how technology and increasingly AI is shaping the way we attract, engage, and convert prospects in senior living. So we'll be talking about what's working, where teams are finding ROI, and how approaching the space with AI and the different technologies out there can actually drive real life results. So to get things kicked off, I am going to pass it over to our panelists so that they can each introduce themselves, give you a little bit of background about who they are, where they come from, and their expertise. So Natasha, if you'd like to kick us off, we'll just go in order of our headshots on the screen.
Sure. Thanks, Meredith. Thanks for having me. I am Natasha Drake. I am founder and CEO of Drake Strategic. I've been in the senior living industry going on 20 years. Started the first half of my career actually at the community level, right out of college, started at the concierge, and as many of us do, sort of naturally worked my way up through the ranks, through into sales and marketing. So I worked at the ops and sales side for the first half of my career and the past 12 years on the marketing agency side. So 3 years ago, I founded Drake Strategic, which we really bridge the gap between sales and marketing strategy and agency creative and really help you come up with really strategic plans for your clients. And I'm also the host of, as you can see, the Drake Insights podcast as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Natasha.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Meredith. My name is Demi Malios, and I've been in the industry for about 12 years. And similar to Natasha, I've worked in community roles. I've held some agency roles, and now I'm working for Human Good, which is one of the largest owners and operators of life plan communities and affordable housing for older adults. So we're a nonprofit centered around really inspiring people to live their best lives. And in my role as a marketing director, I support half of our communities, our life plan communities, about 10 of them, with our marketing strategy and how we support our sales teams. Really excited to be here today to share some insights on how we're using AI in the sales and marketing journey.
Awesome. Thanks, Demi. Matt, you're up.
Awesome. Thank you, Meredith. Hi, everyone. Matt Reiners, Chief Growth Officer at Parasol Alliance. I've been in the industry about 10 years. Backgrounds, I've helped build and sell two technology startups. One was in the senior living industry known as Eversound. You might know me as the headphone guy from that previous life. But at Parasol Alliance, we're owned by senior living communities. We only work with senior living communities, and we are a full service technology partner helping communities just explore AI, explore their tech stack, and really make sure that they're maximizing what technology can look like for them. And really excited to be on the panel. So thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Matt. Ryan, you're up.
Awesome. And now I'm Ryan Galley. I'm the CEO of GoIcon. Obviously, we do resident, family, and staff engagement and communications in about 2,500 communities throughout the US and a little bit in Canada.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. And as I mentioned, I'm Meredith Wentworth. I'm the Director of Marketing here at GoIcon. Been in the senior living space for 4.5 years now. Prior to that, I was doing marketing in the healthcare space, working with physicians and allied health professionals and nurses. Loving senior living and super excited for today's conversation and to hopefully give you all some valuable insights that you can take away and implement in your communities as early as today. So with that, I just want to frame the conversation a little bit. So today's discussion is going to focus on two key areas. The first one is tech tools that help sales and marketing teams work smarter, not harder. So we're going to take a look at the landscape, see what's out there, give some insights as to how we're using things, what we're seeing in the industry. And then the second piece of the conversation is going to focus around leveraging your community's investment in tech and how you can leverage that as a unique differentiator. So that's just to give you a little bit of background on how today's conversation is going to be structured. Now, before we get into our real panel discussion, we thought it'd be good to set the stage. So I am actually going to launch a poll, hopefully. Oops, too far. Zoom changed some settings here. And so I had to stop sharing. But this first poll here should be launching now. And the question you should be seeing, oh, nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry about that.
Was that who's the best? Because I saw our names pop up. I didn't see the question though.
That is a different poll question. Let's see. Sorry, they've changed some settings in here and there we go. This is the correct one. So things have gotten moved around. So the question that we are asking all of you is, how would you describe your experience using AI in your senior living marketing strategy? So just check off the one that you think most applies to you. But are you just getting started exploring what's out there, experimenting with a few tools, actively using it on select campaigns and workflows? Maybe you're fully integrated and you're using AI as part of your core strategy, or you might not be using it at all yet, and that's totally okay. Everybody is going to be at different stages of this. So I'll let this poll ride for just another moment here. All right. I think just about everybody. Oh, there's still a couple trickling in, so I'll give you one more second here. All right. So I'm going to pop up the results. You should be able to see where we landed here. So it looks like we have about 18% of people that are just getting started, exploring the possibilities. Some of you, about 36% of you are exploring. There's about 32 of you that are actively using AI, and there's about 14% who's not using it at all yet. So I think this is really great to help us level set this conversation. All right, so back to our presentation here. So now that we've got an idea of where everybody stands with their use of AI and technology and their strategies, before we dive in, as I mentioned, to our panel discussion, Ryan is going to take us through just a high-level overview of sort of the landscape of AI-powered marketing technology. And please note, these are just some of the solutions that all of us are familiar with and potentially using. There is a vast variety of options out there. So I will let Ryan jump in here.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, this is probably a sliver of the tools out there. I'm sure there's hundreds, thousands probably at this point of different tools. And I think that's kind of the point of this slide is there is a lot of stuff and a lot of noise right now, and things are moving really quickly. I think stepping back where we are landscape wise to kind of place us today, we've kind of moved past the novelty phase a little bit with AI tooling. I think a year or two ago, a lot of the focus was around using AI to kind of create content. So write emails, blog posts, summarize things. That's kind of started to become table stakes. And I think actually a lot of these solutions have kind of been superseded in large part, oftentimes by the big AI companies like ChatGPT and Claude, and kind of eliminated the need for a lot of these smaller tools. Um, where we are today, and where things are kind of shifting is we're moving from content generation to more kind of revenue orchestration. So AI now going to the stage of kind of helping teams identify prospects, really personalize outreach, but through automation. You know, coach reps, analyze win-loss patterns. It's really starting to change how go-to-market teams operate. But I think ultimately, yeah, the trap here is, and I liked in the pool actually, a lot of people said they're kind of experimenting. No one said they're fully AI implemented. And I think that's where you actually want to be right now, because given how fast things are changing, if you adopt a ton of these tools, you're gonna A, sink a lot of time into doing that, but then B, be at risk of a lot of those tools being obsolete in 6 months' time. And so, the focus right now should really be lightweight tools, experimenting, keeping yourself in a spot where you can pivot quickly, um, because it's not clear at this stage who or what tools are going to win out and be kind of the long-term solution. So I think it sounds like everybody's kind of in the right spot right now. And I think you're going to see a lot more of the use cases consolidating around the big AI vendors as they kind of commoditize a lot of the kind of table stakes use cases that we've been seeing in the past. And I think we'll talk a lot more about how you can actually use the kind of out of the off the shelf ChatGPT and Claude type tools to achieve a lot of the workflows quite easily that a lot of these more expensive solutions do that require a lot less effort. So a lot's changing. Experiment. Start thinking about not only how to use it for content creation, but to start using it for automation. That's kind of where you want to be today.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. So now we've got a little bit of an idea of what the landscape of AI-powered marketing tech looks like. So what we wanted to do as the last thing before we jump into the panel discussion is Matt is actually going to give you a real-life example of using AI in action. So Matt, let me know when you'd like me to hit play, and I'll get you started there. And remind me, this has no audio, right? You are the audio.
I am the audio, for better or for worse. But yeah, I would say anybody on this call, steal this idea. So basically, what we did at Parasol is we took all the information, all the external facing copy, and we did this right in ChatGPT. We took all the external facing copy, so everything on our website, all of the transcripts that I could ever find with our founder and CEO, Amber Barden, and just put it into the knowledge base. And we built out Parasol GPT. Shout out Amanda for helping to do that. And you can see here, just can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And so here just really helps us to find the brand voice so we can just be consistent in how we're showing up into the world. And any senior living community, any technology vendor, any vendor really can do this. So I'm asking it questions, can you give, please, now it's asking for a summary of what is in your knowledge base. Obviously, you can tell that I can't spell as I'm going through that. But yeah, so it kind of gives the core company overview, full service portfolio. So as we're pumping out content, we're able to run it through Parasol GPT just to make sure that we're talking about Parasol consistently every single time. And really everything and anything that we're doing. So it's just another thing. We still have the human element on the back end to make sure everything is good and not hallucinating before we put things out into the world. But we've created this, and really anybody can do this. And I forget the last question here I asked. Uh, it's nice this time around. I can actually see what I'm writing. And yeah, so here I'm just asking like for new ideas around messaging, to really just continue to lean into that idea of where you can be it. Because I think in addition to like pumping out content, it's just a great opportunity for brainstorming. I look at things like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all those things is just a tool in the tool belt. And making sure that you're using it in a way that makes sense to you, and making sure that you're finding it to be a helpful tool and not a burdensome tool.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Matt. So I think that this was a great kind of grounding conversation to start transitioning into our panel conversation. So thank you, Ryan and Matt, for kind of helping us level set and set the stage. So with that, we will start off with our first question. So for organizations who are just starting to explore AI, where would you recommend they begin to see quick wins without overwhelming their teams? As you saw in the slides before, there's so many AI options out there that can do so many things. And as Ryan mentioned, the landscape of that AI is changing all the time. So what you might be implementing could be obsolete in 6 months. So where would our panel suggest that we get started? And Natasha, I think we'll start off with you for this one, and then I think Demi will have some ideas to throw in there as well.
Yeah, thanks, Meredith. So I think, obviously going off of what Ryan just said, this can be very overwhelming, right? AI and technology from a sales and marketing perspective is overwhelming. There's so much, and where do you start? And I also think it can be a little bit gimmicky, so to speak, whereas, you just want to get what's shiny and new, what looks flashy, what are your competitors doing? Let's just quickly onboard it, get it set up and get rolling, right? And it's just easy to kind of get lost in that. And then no one's using it correctly. We're not really solving a problem. And so where I always say to start first is, well, first of all, you can't fix everything at once. So let's really figure out what we're going to fix and solve that problem. What is the problem you're trying to solve? Is it occupancy? Are you having census challenges? Is it dining? Is it clinical, right? Where are you seeing those gaps, that leak in revenue? And how can we put together some kind of a solution to fix it, right? And bridge that gap. So if it is your occupancy, and your census gap there, really focusing on quick wins. AI has the biggest ROI for sales and marketing. So what are the tools that can actually help us reduce the time in the funnel, get higher quality web conversions, increase that, decrease the speed to lead, and help with your sales team with follow up. So really seeing those quick wins. How can we help bridge the gap in your sales and marketing revenue? And I know over at Human Good, Demi is doing this, and she has some examples as well to share.
Yes, thank you, Natasha. Yeah, so really just to underscore though what you said too, keeping things simple and actionable where people and teams will actually get behind what we're implementing and rolling out. And it's not something we just roll out, forget it, set it and forget it type of mentality. So in our process, we like to look for those gaps, as you mentioned, Natasha, closing occupancy challenges. And a great place to start is your post-tour follow-up. So focusing more on that prospective resident, family member who's maybe exploring or visiting a community. That's when momentum and interest is really high, as we all know. So following up immediately upon that tour is really a great way to set action into motion. You'll have a survey that goes out that's triggered by an automatic integration that's set up. At least that's how we have the function on our end. And it really allows for that real-time feedback. So you're informing how was that sales cycle and customer service experience? And then also understanding what's an actionable next step then for the sales team to act on. So what does that follow-up look like? We don't want to take place of the human touch. We still want that follow-up occurring, but we feel like with this survey, and we have seen now with completion rates, it's allowing for that real-time feedback that then filters right into our CRM, which is Salesforce, to inform what that person is looking for. How do they feel about what was the experience on campus? And again, it also informs that operational process so that we loop in our executive director, keep them clued in on the feedback as well. And it just keeps things moving really along and straightforward without losing that momentum, because that post-tour survey is going out 2 hours after that activity is completed. So we really like to have that tool in place. And we also like to pre-screen our prospective residents. So having tools on the websites, as Natasha mentioned, really is a helpful way to pre-screen, have things out there like quizzes that people can engage with, understanding what financials look like. Are they a good fit? Is it maybe a different option that they're better suited for and not a community that they're drilling down into? So this really saves time for our sales teams and keeps them focused and in the selling zone and working with those age income qualified prospective residents and those leads coming in where they really can spend their time and then helping closing that occupancy gap.
Awesome. Thank you, Demi. Matt, Ryan, anything you'd like to add?
the thing with AI, sorry, Ryan, if I don't, I saw you going muted there. It's all about, I think, when you think about AI, it's all about the mantra, and this is something I say at nauseum nowadays, but just like automating the mundane to elevate the meaningful. If once you get people kind of thinking in that mindset, right? Because to each person, the meaningful means something different. To each person, the mundane means something different. And just looking for opportunities to really emphasize that and work through that, and even like writing it out of what that could potentially look like. I mean, there's still a lot of like thought going into it, but just making sure you're being intentional of where you're spending your time.
I think that's really smart. Awesome. Well, so now we've set a little bit of a foundation here about getting started. But what we've often found is that there's often a gap between implementing technology and actually leveraging it effectively. So, what would we consider best practices that have helped operationalize your tech so it actually delivers measurable ROI? And so I think for this one, we'll start off here with Matt, and then I think Demi and Natasha and Ryan will all have things to say about this as well.
Yeah, it's a good question because on it by itself, right? Technology just does not create that ROI. You can't just get a piece of technology and expect the ROI to come out of it instantaneously. You really need to define like what's the process, who's the owner, what does training look like, what's the accountability look like, and really turning a tool from something we bought into something that is actually moving the business forward. And I think before adding any new platform, I like to ask, even whether like my own tech stack, who owns it? What behavior are we trying to change? What problem are we trying to solve? How will we train people on it? And how will we know if it worked? And being okay with calling an audible if things aren't working, and and making sure that you are taking that next step and trying to find a better solution out there if the one that you adopted is not the right one. So being okay with that. Ryan?
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent point. You know, what I'd add to that, one would be when you look to add technology, don't think about it in terms of adding, think about it in terms of replacing a workflow. When we add tools to an existing workflow, you're just asking your reps to do an additional step on top of what you're already doing. And it might make that step slightly more efficient, but it's another, the step's still there. To see real meaningful ROI, it's really enabling them to do different work and kind of automating the mundane that they're doing day to day. And a lot of that now is very achievable with AI. So it's not, an example is you could go into ChatGPT, put in some information about the tour and have it summarize and draft that email follow up. The better workflow is the AI automatically drafts it, puts it in your drafts folder in your email, and you just need to go and review and click send. So it's that extra step of just fully automating those end-to-end workflows. The other thing I would add is just making the outputs or the wins of using this technology accessible or visible to the end user. I find oftentimes it's easy at the exec level to review the metrics and talk about the wins and how this is saving a lot of time, but that information never kind of trickles down to the staff using it, and making those KPIs visible and the success that's driving helps with adoption because the staff are able to see it's actually working and driving real change. Um, and finally, I just say, to round that out, um, you know, most sales and marketing tech only really delivers ROI when captured data flows into the next conversation. And so, integration stuff is boring. We talk about it all the time. I feel like most every single tech call panel, a lot of integrations come up. But to really make sure you're getting ROI, make sure that the tools or solutions are adding talk to the other tools so that the information you capture on your website is flowing to the bot automatically so that it can draft intelligent content. And so having those connections is essential to seeing real ROI.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. And Demi and Natasha, I think you both might have some real world examples about best practices when you're implementing these technologies to get that measurable ROI.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and Matt kind of mentioned it, but someone really has to own it. I've seen, I'm sure Demi has too, this community struggle where a lot of sales teams really struggle when things are implemented, especially sales and marketing tools. A lot of times it's like, well, marketing set this up for us, right? And it's like, we have to use this. And it can have that poor connotation. I'm sure a lot of the people on today have heard that. So it's really important that someone is owning it. Who is that person and how are we measuring and tracking so that they can see those results and sharing that with the sales team? Don't have it separate. Marketing tracks and sales doesn't see it. They can actually see real use examples of, wow, look at how the speed to lead has decreased. Look at how our quality conversions have gone up. It's really about helping the sales team adopt it, right? Adoption is not the same as implementation. So the sales team has to adopt it for you to have that ROI. So share those results with them, share those examples, and also show them really how it helps them. Like they have to understand it and believe it and see it as a tool in helping them when you're training and implementing so that they do adopt it and you give them that real life training, like really how are they going to use it? Not just that first training, right? Quickly, oh, this is how it works. How are they going to use it to make their life easier overall?
I love that, Natasha. I mean, I think we so quickly go through our lists of we roll something out, it's out there now, we expect everyone to adopt it and then implement and use it and be our internal champions. But we forget that it's, ongoing training and having office hours. It's the small things and those touch points that really lead to a successful adoption of these different strategies and ideas. And I love showing outcomes because I think when people are seeing that, we all probably function this way. You're seeing something tangible, it then clicks for you, and you're understanding the reason why it's important. What does that look like for me? Because ultimately, too, it's not just the sales team, it's everyone at the community. We want everyone to understand how does this impact our overall experience at the community, our growth here. So it's something that you want to bring everyone along for and understand and making those touch points really accessible to all team members. And really allowing for any peer-to-peer collaboration. We know, we trust our peers, that collaboration is critical. So allowing for that space without maybe a leader or somebody in the room who's listening in, just allowing for more of that organic learning and adoption, we've seen really great success with. And again, those touch points where you're making it authentic and then keeping it front and center. So it's not just an annual training, it's more often than annual. It's quarterly or bi-monthly, whatever that looks like, but continuing to keep it front and center and then reporting out on those outcomes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. That was great. So now we've talked a little bit about best practices for helping your tech deliver measurable ROI. But I think Matt provided a really nice soundbite there that's going to transition to the next question very nicely, which is that theme of automating the mundane to elevate the meaningful. So the next question we have for our panelists here is, how are you using AI or automation today to help your sales team work smarter, not harder? So, kind of focusing in on some of the real life examples of what's going on in your communities or in your practices today. So Demi, if you wanted to lead us off with that, as an operator, being on the operator side, I think you'd be uniquely poised to start the conversation here.
Yes, I'd love to. Thanks, Meredith. Yeah, so I touched on this a bit earlier, but implementing tools that allow for pre-screening. So, for example, Money Gauge is a tool that we use online, and we scale this across our 22 life plan communities. So that's something else to keep in mind. What's the scale look like? Is it one community you're focused on? Is this 10 plus communities. So keeping that in mind too, I would say not to jump back, but that also ties in with adoption. So Money Gauge is a tool that we use to help people understand where they are financially in comparison to what each community offers, because we do have a range of entrance fee pricing, monthly fee pricing. So things vary in our portfolio, as well as Rubric, which is another qualifying quiz that allows for people to understand what care level they're looking for potentially. Some don't know what they are looking for, so this will help them really guide the conversation, and that informs the sales team so they understand what does that form look like and what information is in there. So really smarter lead generation and pre-qualifying people again to help save time on the sales side and close that gap with the discovery, and really knowing who we're working with and understanding our market and our people that are interested in the product offering that we have in each community. One other thing I'd like to pivot towards and speak a little bit more about is leveraging reputation management tools and the importance of online presence, reputation management, reviews, and things that fall in that camp. Because we have recently made more of a concerted effort to really own what it looks like online for all of our communities. So we're working with a company to automate our review generation and monitoring. I highly suggest if you're not working with a partner now or just kind of starting to understand what's review management look like, please make it a priority now with AI more than ever, and AEO and how local listings are pooling your communities. It's important to have a presence online and a positive reputation. Good, bad, we know negative reviews come in as well, but having a process in place is really critical. And an automated process at that is really important. So leveraging AI, which has been a game changer in our review strategy and reputation strategy, because AI allows for a quick response when needed, allows for integrations where we can send out review campaigns in mass text format versus in-person solicitation. So leveraging tools as well, not just sales and marketing, but then understanding reputation management, which feeds that funnel of sales and marketing, because our reputation online is what people will see oftentimes before they even pick up a phone call or pick up and make a phone call or schedule a tour. So you want to make sure whatever presence is out there on Google, Yelp, other listing locations, it's important to feed those engines and the LLMs to ensure that there are strong review volume coming in. So not just your star rating, but what's your volume look like and what are people saying about your communities? So I will pause there. But again, those are just some examples of how we are working human good, smarter, not harder, to really help with AI and automation.
Yeah, and from the marketing perspective, I'm going to add on to what Demi's saying is, she touched on it, is your website engagement. I mean, the AI tools now today, and she mentioned a few of them there with Rubric and Money Gauge. Most of your prospects, I would say about 90% of your prospects are completing the majority of their journey online right before they contact you. They are making their decisions while they're on your website. And I know we don't want to believe that. We want them to just fill out a form and call us and let us do all the sales work when that is ideal. But it's really a different world now. And they are making those decisions before they even come for that tour, before they even come visit you. So you want to make sure that you have ways to convert them more so than just a form, right? And small conversion tools. So really ensuring you have engagement tools on your website to keep them on there longer. And also answer their questions, right? The biggest thing is they're looking for answers. And if you don't have those answers on your website, they're going to go somewhere else, right? They're going to go to a competitor, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to want to schedule a tour with the person that's being the most transparent and honest and giving them those answers. So making sure you have all that content on your site and you have these website and conversion tools. Chatbot is one that's been around for a while, but it's so much different than it used to be. Further is a big name in this space that does incredible marketing automation tools, survey tools, all as part of that chat feature. And personally, I have seen it increase quality of conversions by 40 to 50% just immediately on turning it on, because people are able to quickly get questions answered and you can customize it. So it's not like some bot is going off on the rails, right? You're able to really customize those answers and it's able to pull the information from your website, right? What you're putting on there. So really recommend some, chat and VSA tools like that. Also for follow-up. So I just mentioned some marketing automation tools that Further does. There's also not just email marketing automation, there's also text and call. There's automated features where someone wants help right away. I think about at night, the adult children are over the weekend. If you don't have full coverage or they don't want to call you yet, they want to get those answers late at night. They want to be able to, get some of those things done while they're after they put their kids to bed. There's AI tools that can text late at night, can do the phone calls at night for you. And again, it's all customizable to what you put in there. And that's just helping you so that the next morning you have a lead ready to tour because they were able to get through and realize that you are the right community, right? You're answering all those questions that they're struggling with late at night. You've got a tour schedule on there. It's just helping them be able to convert faster and help you with those after hours as well.
And one thing I'll just add here, I started out this saying steal something, and I would say steal this too, but make sure you don't do this. I think there's a lot of opportunity to use AI to help with your sales and marketing, but I did see a senior living provider. I think they thought they created a private GPT in Chat GPT. It was definitely only specific to them. I had searched senior living and it had popped up. And I started asking this GPT about their discounts and all this stuff. And it definitely told me their discounts and kind of their framework for that. So if you are going to implement AI, make sure you're following like proper guidance and frameworks and security permissions, just to make sure you're not giving away your own playbook to everybody and anybody that could potentially access it.
That's a really smart piece of advice, Matt. I appreciate that one. So some great ideas on how operators and senior living marketing agencies are using AI today. So now we've kind of got into what's out there, how to use it, how to get ROI out of it, and some real world examples. So the next handful of questions before we go to our Q&A are going to kind of transition to that second theme and focus in a little bit more on how your technology within the community, whether it be resident engagement platforms or digital signage or there's a whole host of technology that you can implement that's resident facing. How can you leverage that technology as a unique differentiator for your community? The landscape of senior living prospects is changing quite readily, and we're seeing the baby boomers starting to be looking for senior living opportunities and their children potentially researching for their parents. So we're going to kind of transition into that second half of the conversation now, and start that off with how are you seeing technology influence the decision-making process for today's senior living prospects and their families? This might lend itself to a little bit of the earlier conversation about how they're searching things out, but also their technology expectations. So for this one, I feel like any of you could really jump in and get us started here. So maybe I see Ryan coming unmuted. So we'll start with you, Ryan.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great lead in. You know, the shift we're seeing is kind of what I call the Netflixification of senior living. I think Netflix and other tools like it have led the consumer to almost expect personalized experiences. Netflix being the simple example of it curates obviously the recommendations based on your taste and interests. But I think that's permeating all sectors of the economy. And so, the prospect coming in, they expect that high touch because they've just been conditioned for it. And so that changes what technology matters. The website that shows generic content, generic floor plans, generic menus is going to lose to the website that feels personalized to the individual's interests. And so, whether it's using content that's more dynamic, on our side, at least from the life enrichment standpoint, what we enable is, calendars that can personalize based on an interest survey. And so it's showing the resident a picture of what their life could be look like living there with a personalized calendar for what their day-to-day could be. And so having those moments of delight and using more data to identify those opportunities, I think is going to become more and more important. And then the final piece, which I think is interesting that we're seeing a big shift in, is around more on the family engagement side, and whether it's a family app or portal. I think historically operators could get away with saying, "Hey, we don't want to give the family too much information as to what's going on day to day. We'd rather kind of keep them in the dark and not expose ourselves there." But I think this new generation, the millennial, the Gen X, they have an app for everything. And they're not gonna, that might have worked on, past generations, but just not gonna work on this group. Moving in your parents is an incredibly emotional decision, and there's a huge desire to stay as connected as possible. And so tools like that provide a lot of visibility for the family, and that's something that we're seeing increasingly the consumer seek out when making their selections.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that too. And I sort of mentioned this in the last question, but I just want to reiterate it again to go off of what Ryan just said is your website's your first impression. And so it's really it's not just the tools you have and listing them there, it's how are you showcasing them, right? How are you showcasing and leveraging that technology on your website? What's that user experience? The perfect time to do a website review and assessment. I do a lot of them, and I spend a lot of time looking at that from a prospect or adult child perspective. Is it easy to find? Am I getting all the information I need, or do I feel like this community is gatekeeping things and not sharing that information with us? Can they picture themselves there? Do you have, again, those interactive tools, floor plans, interactive those? So no longer just the stagnant one, like Matt was saying, like there are interactive tools like Engrain that can help walk you through that journey so that they feel like, wow, I've kind of toured the community. I've seen all the floor plans. They have all the pricing. They've explained it. I've gone through the surveys. The website feels modern. I can picture myself there. It's very honest and transparent, right? So you really want to make sure, to Ryan's point of this generation, that your website is in line. It's not just, well, we have these snazzy tools. It's how is your website working for them overall? Because like I said, they're making that, about 90% are making that decision before they come to you.
Yeah, that's so important to have everything available online because that is how we are searching and that's how we're doing our investigative work before even touring a community and doing an audit of your website and also an audit of how your community is being listed within ChatGPT, Claude, testing out different prompts to understand how are we showing up. We're working and partnering with an agency or review management company. Bird Eye is who we partner with to really know where you're at in those local listings and that atmosphere because it is really critical when it comes to decision making, whether it's somebody making it for themselves or a family member. We need to make sure that we're auditing those details, those prompts, and now with AI and how things are evolving with search, it's more important now than ever. So also speaking to really that competitive advantage and equipping the sales teams to know what are we able to promote? What can we tell our families and our prospective residents when we're touring that we can brag about almost and really have some meat behind it so that sales teams feel confident with tools to promote what we are doing. Is it maybe giving a family member or prospective resident access to the resident engagement portal or kind of Cubigo app? Cubigo is the platform we use. But whatever app that is, just so they can see what does that resident experience look like before making a decision, because that could put them then in a place to make the decision and choose your community over a competitor. Again, going back to that competitive advantage. So really understanding how can we promote it from a sales and marketing standpoint? What is our website saying about us? The look, feel, the touch. Natasha mentioned, does this look like a place that I could fit in and live at? It kind of comes down to seeing what fits online and then making that appointment in person. Excuse me. So understanding how does our web presence precede ourselves. So that's where I will leave things off.
Awesome. Thank you, Demi. I really love that idea of Netflixification and personalization standing out for today's senior living prospects. And the fact that, the prospect network is beyond just the senior itself, it's their adult children and loved ones, and making them feel like they can see themselves in your community, leveraging all of that, unique technology and amenities that you have available to them. So I think that's a really great idea. So moving on to our next question, many communities today are investing in great technology. Maybe they have engagement and communication platform like GoIcon. Maybe they've made an investment in dining robots so that their staff members can form real connections with their residents, and not spend as much time, delivering food or bussing tables. So there's all kinds of great technology out there. But what we find is that sales and marketing teams can often struggle with communicating that value. And so for this question, I'll start off with Natasha and Demi, but how are you equipping sales and marketing teams to confidently position your tech as a competitive advantage?
Yeah, I'll start us off. This is really important. As I mentioned earlier, the sales team has to understand it. You want to make sure that they are confident and set up to talk about the outcomes, not feature dump. So really shifting your mind from, okay, these are the features we have to the actual outcomes. I see it so many times on the website as well, just listed. Here's the technology we have. It's like nobody even knows what that means, right? They want to see the numbers. They want to see results. They want to see outcomes, tell resident stories, tell case studies, family testimonials, videos of them talking about it. That's what sells the technology as the results. That in turn also helps the sales team. They need to be able to say, we have such and such. Let me tell you a story about Mrs. Jones and how this has helped her, right? So giving the sales team, equipping them with them truly understanding. Because if you think about, like you just mentioned, some of the technologies have nothing to do with sales and marketing, right? They're in the clinical department, they're in dining, they're in life engagement. And they'll just list them. I mean, I've heard it on a lot of the calls that I listen to. They really just list them out. And so make sure they feel confident. They have the tools, the videos, the outcomes, share that with them so that they can really speak on it. And in turn, also get that all on your website. Again, no just marketing verbiage listing them, really share those testimonials and those outcomes. And I know Human Good is doing similar things as well.
Yes, the testimonial storytelling route, that is the best way to really engage with our market. Hearing live from those who have benefited from a technology tool or something that has impacted them in their journey, and they are now residents speaking from their experience, is a great asset to get out there, whether it's on Meta or on your websites, as we mentioned. Have it in more than one place. But we have seen really great engagement on Meta with resident testimonial stories. And it goes even just beyond any technology. It's just resident experiences, which are great to get out there in storytelling format. So really using those stories of people who are already living in your community and how they can speak firsthand of how they benefited from something, whether it's a piece of technology, a tool, or just an experience even that they can speak to. And then also, we touch more on marketing and sales, but I love that Natasha brought up more of the health kind of center side of things. And Pack IQ is something that we recently rolled out for referral and admissions, and it really streamlined the process for the workflow by consolidating hospital referrals into one dashboard. And it skims through with an AI assistant to help bring down the time of what that typical 3+ hours or whatever that time frame looks like, has brought it down to help our teams make a more informed decision in a quicker timeline. And we know that similar to speed to lead, as we say on the marketing side, going through these hospital referrals and admissions and speed is critical, and they come at all hours of the day, evenings, weekends. So having, again, tools that can show a better resident experience, being able to speak to these tools and equipping the sales teams to understand, I might be marketing and selling independent living, but if we offer a health center here at our community, the sales team still needs to be aware of what are those tools that would help a family member or an individual, even as they maybe transition to a different care level. So having those different touch points is really critical to equip the sales team with.
I love that, Demi. Thank you. Matt, I saw you unmuted. Is there something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think, I'm basically just regurgitating what Demi and Natasha said, so make sure to take all the credit. Thank you for that. But I'm trying to turn off this, just my background, because we talk about the stories, right, when it comes to technology. And so like one I want to say, so you can't really see, but over my right hand shoulder here, this is from my friends at Commonwealth, who so this was an individual Here, I'm gonna grab it. Is that all right if I grab it? You're gonna see I'm wearing shorts though. Is that all right?
That's fine, Matt.
Sounds good. Um, so we talk about the stories, right? So I wanted to share. So in my Eversound days, this is Miss Josie. I know, bringing back window visits, a lot of people don't want to see that. But Miss Josie, the only way that she was able to connect with her family during this time, she was celebrating her 100th birthday. Her family, the cell phone wouldn't go loud enough, so they were able to use this piece of technology to be able to talk to their loved one, and she could be able to hear them too. And the way the Commonwealth positioned that as being proactive to find solutions for family members, loved ones, residents to still be able to connect during that time, right? That's the outcome that technology can really help to provide. Technology is that tool, but it's that outcome and that story that really helps to pull on those heartstrings to make sure that people are feeling good about what that technology can do.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. I think that is a fantastic real world example. So with that said, we'll transition to our last question here, as I do want to leave a few minutes for Q&A. But I'd love to wrap this up with one piece of advice that you would give to organizations just getting started with AI or looking to position their technology as a true differentiator. So either of the two themes we've talked about. I know that there were lots of good best practices and ideas, but what's the one thing that each of you would zero in on as your best piece of advice?
So for me, I would say, especially for organizations, please create an AI policy. What is the expectations of the team? What can they use? What can't they use? What can they upload? What can't they upload? Just so you can hold people accountable to something. If you need any of those, if you just go to Parasol Alliance's website and go to resources and then guidebooks, we've got one on AI in there that we've got some pre-written policies in there. Steal those. Steal everything I'm talking about today is kind of my theme. But I would definitely start with that of creating that policy just so everyone knows what the expectations. There's a lot of shadow AI going on. So, you might have Copilot available to people. People are using ChatGPT. People are using Claude. People are using other things. And just making sure you're being intentional in that. But I would also say don't start with the tool, but really the friction. Where are your residents, families, prospects, or team members experiencing unnecessary confusion, delay, or frustration? And I really think like the organizations that win with AI and tech will not be the ones that are like really chasing every shiny object, trying to implement everything they see at every single conference, but they'll be the ones that are intentional about that technology roadmap and what that looks like and really emphasizing on making the human experience better.
Awesome.
Yeah, I will add to that. That's great, Matt. I agree. I was going to say, don't start with the technology, start with the problem. And also the important thing that I think we've been touching on is tech should support the story. Technology is not the story, right? Your people, your outcomes, like that, you need to be able to showcase it in that way. Don't just lead with, well, this is our technology. Make sure you're understanding what is the problem it's solving and then sharing those amazing stories and outcomes.
Yes, and I have a similar piece of advice to share that Natasha and Matt. But again, I'll just steal their thunder. So really use AI to enhance the customer experience. We're saying it in different ways, but it's ultimately using it as really that tool that's fueling the strategy. So you really want to enhance that customer experience in many ways, and different ways that we do that is in the sales cycle, but also in community life, buildings and grounds. I mean, everyone really plays a role. So bring everyone along. It's critical that everyone has buy-in and understand and think bigger on how you can really enhance that experience for your customers.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Um, Alrighty. So with that, I am going to quickly launch a last poll here, and then we will get started on the Q&A session. So, oh, of course, I launched it early, relaunched. There we go. All right. So this is just asking if there's any of you that would like direct follow-up on one of our solutions, one of our services, or to brainstorm and get some additional ideas. So please feel free to fill this out. While that is running, we will start the Q&A. So if you do have any questions that you'd like us to answer live, please feel free to throw those into the Q&A chat box, and I'll let this run for another minute or so. But it looks like we do have a couple of questions in there. So the first question, and I think this one is for you, Demi. The question is, what reputation management tool are you using?
Yes, thank you, Meredith. Bird Eye is the vendor that we've partnered with, and they have a bunch of different tools. So AI listings tool, review management tools. They have, I think, as well social tools that are part of their package. So I would explore Bird Eye because it's been a great, I would say, process so far, partnership that we've rolled out that started in 2026.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yes.
Um, I have another note in here that's not necessarily a question, but more of a comment. And it says a reliable cloud-based CMMS is also an important piece of the puzzle. It may not be resident facing, but it certainly helps sales teams with unit turns and integrations with organizations like GoIcon, so residents have easy, efficient ways to submit work requests, make dining reservations, etc. So I think that's a really powerful point to pull out as well.
Yeah, that's great, especially with this new generation that's sort of used to that. As boomers start filling all of the communities, they're going to be used to that. I want to just get quick response. So great, great comment. I love that.
Awesome. We have a question here for Matt that says, remind me, but how do you get your specific organization chat GPT started? So I think this is around the idea of, setting up your Parasol GPT, for example, and then how do you make sure it's secure so it's not being searched by AI and available to just anyone?
Yeah, good question. So what you would want to do, so like any other account, making sure you're setting up that business account. It is a paid one, so I think what we're paying is $30 per month per user right now. And then in terms of like creating that Parasol GPT, if you just go to, I mean, do you want me to share my screen real quick? Just
Sure, go
show
ahead.
the
Let
show
me
the
end the
people.
poll and I will stop sharing and you can take over.
Sorry, I feel like I'm like throwing everything for a curveball here today.
No, it's
Um,
good.
is it this one?
While you're pulling that up, I did just also want to note, some of you may have noticed Ryan dropped off. It wasn't for lack of wanting to be here, but his power went out. So if you do have specific questions for Ryan, feel free to send us a follow-up question on the email that will come out after this, and we'll make sure that any questions you had for him specifically get answered. Can have all the tech you want, but if the power goes out, you're in trouble.
That was gonna be my next takeaway. Make sure your power works because this technology won't work without it unless you have the batteries. So yeah, so just here, I'm in it. We've got our Parasol Alliance set up. If you just go under GPTs and then do Explore GPTs and then just go up here to create, that will walk you through of like how you want to do this. And I would ask ChatGPT of like what to put in the instructions. I've built out some that are like more built in phases to help me with podcasts and all that stuff. And then down here, as all right, right before you hit go live with it, you can make it private or public or anything like that. So just make sure you're doing that. And like I'm in a place now, I'll show you my other chat GPTs, my more of my personal stuff, but I got my whole team set up here. Whoops. I've got my whole team set up here that help me with like LinkedIn posting, podcast stuff. And I keep other stuff in here versus like everything Parasol in here. So just know that. So
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. We have another question in here that says, my software is on the accounts payable side. What tips would you offer to separate from competitors with a big head start legacy brand? Maybe a little bit specific for this group, but if anybody has any thoughts on support for that.
talk to as many potential buyers as possible. Ask them a lot of questions around what they would want to see and what some of the gaps that they're experiencing today. I think feedback from potential buyers is your most valuable resource. And if you have one mindset, it's maximizing the number of conversations you have with that.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So we are 1 minute over, so I will go ahead and wrap things up because I think we've gone through all of the questions that were asked. That being said, if you think of something after the webinar that you would like one of our experts to answer, just respond to the follow-up email that we'll be sending out in a day or two, and one of us will get back to you with the response you need. As I mentioned, everything's been recorded, so you will get a copy of the recording. And on the landing page with the recording, there'll be a few additional resources. We have a white paper on leveraging your investment in technology as a unique differentiator. So it dives into a little bit more of the themes of the second half of this conversation. And another piece that's a marketing playbook for leveraging GoIcon. So all the ways that our solution and technology can help support your sales and marketing efforts if you are a GoIcon customer. So those will be available for you as well, and you can download those resources when that landing page gets circulated. So I'd just like to close by saying a huge thank you to our fantastic panelists here. And also a big thank you to all of you for joining us today. Hopefully you were all able to walk away with this from this with a nugget of information that you can implement right away, or that you can leverage as you're starting your journey with tech and AI. So thank you all again. I appreciate you all being here, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.